Welcome, everybody, to the fourth episode on the Modern Lending Podcast about digital marketing. This is going to be a fun one as we wrap up the four-part series on this, because I want your eyes to open up. I want you to understand what is happening with your customer, what companies are doing. And so I'm bringing on a buddy of mine, Mike Eshelman. He's the head of consumer finance for Jornaya. For those of you who don't know what Jornaya is, I'm actually going to read it because I know Jornaya as this incredible company that finds people on the internet and tracks their data. But that's like simplistic, stupid mortgage guy talk. Look, it's a data as a service company working in markets where customers invest significant time researching, analyzing, and comparing options, major life purchases, cars, loans, insurance, and degrees. They find people. They track their trends. They have access to immense amounts of data, and they help companies like loanDepot and others find these customers, find your customers who are in your database getting a crappy drip campaign. So let's bring on Mike, talk about what's really going on, and just blow your heads, blow your minds today.
With the real world.
All right, dude, let's go. I've been looking forward to this since we started the digital marketing, my little series. Mike, before we go, everyone that's joining out, hi everybody that's jumping in to watch us right now. Please engage with a comment, ask questions, tell us where you're watching from, because it's always fun. And if you're watching this in the future, hit me up with a hashtag bypassed. So, Mike, big, like Jornaya's moving and shaking, man. Like, you got a lot of stuff going on. Why don't you fill everybody in on what's happening with your company and do a better job than I did on how you guys. I'm a sales guy, so fill us in, dude.
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome, Alec. I really appreciate it. I guess the quick high level of who Jornaya is, we're a data technology company. We have, best put, we have a snippet of code across 35,000 plus comparison shopping websites. So we have a lot of, think about the lead generation partners that are out there across insurance, mortgage, real estate, a bunch of different major life purchase industries. And we help marketers make better decisions by providing additional information about the consumers they care about. So what a client can do with us is provide a list of consumers that they know, that they have in their database. And we'll keep an eye on this network of comparison shopping websites and alert our clients whenever we witness one of their consumers bouncing around researching information. So imagine a world where you can get a signal from us saying your consumer, your customer, Jane Smith, is back in market for a mortgage. Further than that, we're seeing her bounce around researching refinance information. And we typically see her researching between 3 and 5 in the afternoon. If you knew all that information, you're going to reach out to Jane with some sort of message that is refinance related. And probably the best time Jane's going to be available to talk to you or engage with whatever email or text or however you're deciding to engage is between 3 and 5, because we're all creatures of habit. I take care of my errands and my personal tasks about the same time each day when I'm taking a break from work. So yeah, we help our clients really make better campaigns.
Let me frame this up again, because it's so I love having this conversation with you, because I mean, Mike, we met at the Digital Mortgage Conference like 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, right? Like that was back when we could hang out in public. And even then, I was just trying to learn of like, what are these people doing? To what, like you guys, to use this data to be effective. And so I'm so fascinated by this. So let's just go through it again. So you have technology that with any given consumer that gets into your company's process, you basically get to follow them around on the internet. Can you follow them around physically? Do you know where they're going in real life? And go a little deeper.
Sure. So what we've done is we've built a proprietary identity graph. So basically that means we have information about the consumer, such as, kind of known email and phone numbers and their device ID. All of our things that we walk around with, right, have device IDs associated with them. The computers we're on have device IDs that are associated with them. So we've gained this, clear picture of who a visitor could be on these websites where our technology is present. So when we witness someone visiting these websites, we're able to resolve that identity and see if any of our clients are monitoring that consumer and would benefit from knowing that that consumer is in market. So, I mean, it's a huge data set. We see over 1 billion consumer shopping events every single quarter.
Jeez.
And being able to sort through that and identify, all these individual shopping events, how they resolve back to an individual consumer, what are their behaviors, how can we essentially enable our clients to provide exceptional customer experiences through personalized one-to-one marketing campaigns that are delivered when the consumer wants that information and needs that information.
See, this is so cool. This is why I geek out on this, because as we were joking about before, the normal traditional mortgage professional has a database. And if we're any good, we've kept that database up to speed. We have everyone's information in there, and we have dates in there. We know birthdays and loan anniversaries and when they bought their house, but we don't know what they're doing in their life. But you guys do.
Yeah, we're able to better identify the when and the level of intent. So, I mean, you're exactly right. We were talking about this before, where it's when your past customer's birthday is.
Yeah.
Great. Let's say it's in May.
Yeah.
So your next engagement with them might be lined up for May to say, happy birthday. I hope everything's going well. Well, today, if they're bouncing around shopping for a loan and someone else knows that, another lender out there that's tapping into, data set like Jornaya, they're engaging with them. They're getting in front of them. They're beginning to influence that consumer's buying journey by bringing them into the sphere and answering their questions either digitally or a phone call or whatever it may be. And when you send that email in May, you might get a response of like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I just refinanced. I wish I'd thought of you before.
Yep. And that's wild to me. So let's get, for the layperson, I have location services turned off on my phone. I'm browsing on a private browser. How do you know what I'm doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, you could be getting into when we talk about location services, and I know it came up in conversation with Alan Edgett last week, right? Yep. So we don't do the geofencing right now, but that is something that's happening out there in the digital marketing landscape. Good. So a lot of people think, if I tell Facebook, nope, don't want you knowing my location, they still know your location. Don't misunderstand it. They still know your location. Maybe it's because you checked in at, whatever CrossFit gym that you're going to tell everyone you're working out. Well, you just told them your location. There's beacons. There's Bluetooth technology. If my wife has location services turned on and I don't, and our Bluetooth is telling each other that our phones are right next to each other, I mean, come on, it's one hop away. They can identify that. If you go back about 1.5 years, it was really weird when our iPhones went through an update and all of a sudden we got this pop-up that says, Facebook is using your Bluetooth.
Yep.
Well, why would Facebook need to use your Bluetooth? They're not connecting to a speaker. They're not connecting to your car. Well, it's for other reasons. So they can enable their advertisers to micro-target very specifically to you with offers around your neighborhood or whatever location you're at.
It's so funny. We know this as consumers because we're experiencing it with everything in our lives today, right? We say something to Siri, and the next thing we know, we're getting ads about it. Shoes are popping up. Like we know this is happening. We go shop for one thing or click one thing on Instagram. And then what do you see? 17 different, Mike, we were talking earlier, like I'm looking to buy a new mattress. So I start looking at like some of the mattress stuff on the internet, right? Now the 7,000 mattress companies are after me like it's their job. And so like every YouTube video I watch, mattress up in front, like insane. So we know this is happening and possible, but yet I don't think we're connecting the dots enough as mortgage professionals to understand that me waiting for that annual mortgage review, me waiting for that birthday to reach out, to your point, they could have already refinanced 6 times. And we're not even aware of their behavior.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a a similar story to your mattress story. That's just, I mean, I bought a house in July, and pretty quickly I started seeing solar ads all over the place, which makes sense. You know what? Some marketer understood that I just closed on a house, which is typically a time when someone's thinking about adding solar panels or whatever it is, right? That's probably a good population. Well, today, I mean, literally we're having 40-45 mile per hour wind gusts in this area. And I'm getting messages from the utility company saying, hey, power might get shut off if this gets too bad, to prevent fires. Well, the last couple of days, those solar ads have really kicked up because the marketer is leveraging understanding my area and where I live, and knows that, hey, I'm concerned. I have work to do. Like I'm busy. I can't have 2 days off because the power is shut down. And so they're serving me ads that are very top of mind right now. They're leveraging weather data. I mean, it's just amazing how much data is available out there for people to leverage to get in front of the consumer that has high interest at that moment.
Yes.
And engaging with the right message at the right time. I mean, again, I hate using that, the right person, the right message at the right time, because it's been so overused in marketing.
Totally.
But we are really living in a world where consumers demand personalization. I want any email that's being sent to me, any phone call. Like I expect you to know enough about me so that we can shortcut me having to answer a million questions to figure out. You should know enough about me to give me a really good experience.
Well, and I know everyone doesn't like the right moment, the right time thing, but we all know anecdotally how powerful that is. Like we've all worked with realtors and calling on realtors and had that aha moment when they finally were frustrated with their other loan officer, and we're like, hey man, you called me at the right time. Or in like recruiting, sometimes it's like, hey man, you called me at the right time. My boss I'm pissed, let's talk. So timing really does matter.
Mm-hmm. And
let's talk about data for a second that you brought it up. So you were sharing with me some interesting stats about data, about how much data is around, because this is powerful because we're only going deeper. There's only more coming, which means there's a higher likelihood of and a greater increase of ability for companies like you to identify more and more strategically when the actual right time is. So yeah, share those stats on data, dude, because it's fast.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going away. It's one of those where if you haven't really gotten started yet, get started now. It's not too late, but the longer you wait, the harder it's going to get. So it was just a few years ago that this was put out there, and it puts a huge perspective on how big the world of data has gotten, that more data was created in the last 3 years than the entire history of the human race.
That's crazy.
It's insane at how much data is available out there. Now, I had to look up what these actually meant because I love geeking out on data and marketing and mortgage and all that other stuff. But like, I didn't know what a zettabyte really was. But in 2019, the world had 4.4 zettabytes. So I found out 1 zettabyte is a billion terabytes. And I looked into my Dropbox account, and okay, I got 2 terabytes of storage. That's like $100 a year. So that kind of provides some sort of context. But that was 2019, 4.4 zettabytes. In 2020, 44 zettabytes of data existed. It's a 10x increase in 1 year.
So nuts, dude.
And the great thing though about all of this data is, before, say, like a decade ago, if anyone wanted a true digital mortgage technology application, you had to build it yourself. You had to hire engineers, you had to put in the investment, and you had to build a proprietary system. Well, now you have solutions that are out there that you can just buy off the shelf, and they're fantastic. So it helps you compete without having to dip into, a huge investment. Data is the same thing. There are data as a service companies, Jornaya again being one of them, where you can sign up and pretty much flip on the switch, make it really easy to start leveraging data to make better marketing decisions. So there's going to be more and more data available.
Yes.
But you're also going to have more and more companies like ours making it easier to unlock that data and create really exceptional marketing campaigns that are super, micro targeted and personalized.
And again, we are a instant gratification society more and more every day. And so when we're ready to do something as the consumer or as when we're ready, we're ready. We want to go now. And so all of a sudden, when we have that urge and somebody's there to serve that urge, they're going to get a great opportunity with that customer, no matter how much they like their previous mortgage professional, because they're getting it served to them without even having to lift a finger.
Yeah, it's making it as easy as possible. I didn't really use grocery delivery services before the pandemic. And so come the pandemic, right, I went into using Amazon Prime Now delivery to get my groceries. And, the first time I went through, it was kind of like, all right, this, it's kind of expensive to have it delivered. And, wasn't that simple. It took me a while to scroll through everything. I mean, look, I go up and down every single freaking aisle in the grocery store I'm not smart when it comes to shopping for groceries. And I felt like it was the same thing on Amazon. I was kind of disappointed. The third, the fourth, the fifth time, I started getting served like, oh, hey, you bought this 3 times before. You bought this you tend to buy this every 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. This is probably something you need. It quickly learned what I was doing and serving up the personalized experience to where it literally takes me a minute to do my grocery shopping through Amazon Prime Now. I mean, that's leveraging data to provide an exceptional customer experience. We can do the same thing in mortgage. And there are a lot of lenders that are out there who have been testing data long enough that are now delivering those types of experiences. So when individual loan officers are wondering why their clients are getting plucked and not doing the next transaction with them, it's leveraging data to better understand who's in market when, what their level of intent is, what is the product they're looking for, and making it just super easy for the consumer to say, yes, great, fantastic, let's go. And it's not that they had a bad experience with you before.
No.
You just weren't top of mind, and they would have to actually lift a finger to try and get a hold of you. It's just additional work.
So you said something there that was really key. And this is really why I wanted to have you on this conversation and expose this, movement of marketing of the industry, because we're not top of mind. And that's a threat. And I say we in that I own my own like old school, that's how I was trained. I sent out a physical newsletter once a month, so that naturally translated into sending out drip campaigns once a month, like just, stay top of mind. But we're not top of mind. A generic email once a month does not make me top of mind. And it's probably going in the spam drawer. And this is where the power of social media, the power of the understanding that a local professional has to have, that if you want to win or compete or maintain your relevancy, you have to have relationships with these people, real relationships that take effort and time. And like, if you want to shortcut it, Mike, I mean, these guys are going to lose. I don't know. You have a take on that?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that. It's funny because you mentioned the once a month newsletter.
Yeah.
When you think about, some people are thinking, well, you know what? Maybe I just send my newsletter out more often. I'll do a weekly. Right.
Comment.
No, hold on. Go ahead.
Good comment though.
Yeah. But my servicer, who I refuse to name because I say whenever I speak at conferences, I mean, I'm writing an article right now, like it gets brought up. My servicer, I get 4 emails every single week, and it's interested in selling your home. Are you looking to buy a home? You can save money on a refinance. Are you looking for cash out? You have some equity. They're blasting me with such a wide net and bombarding me. A, I've grown numb. B, when I just bought this house, you better believe I'm not going to call them.
Yeah. So not only are you, so it's interesting, right? Because they can't track you, they're trying I'm just going to email you every day approach.
Yep.
And with different random stuff, and hopefully one of them will stick. because they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so not only are they missing the whole conversation we're having and not understanding the importance of it, but they're actually turning you off to them.
Yeah. I've had plenty of people who have asked me, well, why don't you just unsubscribe? Well, what if they don't have their subscription? What if I opt out and I stop receiving my payment confirmation, email and my statement, year-end statement, and all that other stuff, right? We're starting to go through tax planning, or the tax season. I want to make sure I have that. I don't want to unsubscribe and lose. But point being, it's a bad experience, and it's a turnoff. So time matters, being relevant matters, constantly,
so true.
You have to be smart. You have to leverage data to make these better decisions. And if you don't, and others are, it's just going to widen the gap more and more. Out of curiosity, I went on to LinkedIn, typed in data scientist mortgage to see, who's hiring. And you see Zillow, LendingTree, Freedom, Rocket, PennyMac. I mean, this is a job that didn't exist a decade ago.
Nope.
And and there's teams of them at lenders now to go through. And again, the great thing is there are a lot of data as a service companies that are out there or coming out that are making this easier.
So if you had to look into the future here, Mike, 5, 10, 2 years, where does this go? Where does this go?
Yeah, it's the micro targeting, the personalization. It's making it easier and easier for individual loan officers or small to mid-size lenders to leverage big data that was really only available to much larger banks and independent mortgage banks. But it's going to become easier and easier to do that. It already has just in the last couple of years. So it's staying on top of what those trends are and figuring out what you can do to execute on them. And there's also, technology platforms that will ingest these new data sets and help you make those decisions. So, we just had a 10x increase in the amount of data available out in the world. That's going to continue to be the case. And so it'll just get bigger and bigger and easier and easier. And so, finding the best way to leverage that data and get started now is so that as more and more data sets become available, you already have an idea of how to use it. But yeah, it's a data explosion right now. It's phenomenal. It's incredibly interesting.
It feels like a turning point in our society as a whole, to me, just on how things are done. And, we were joking. I was talking earlier about looking back, and in the past it was, billboards and radio advertisement, and it was on popular channels, and you just go, well, it's a popular channel, so hopefully that gets you a good broad range of people to pitch your product to. And then you fast forward and you got commercials and you got Super Bowl ads and all these things. And then now I'm looking at it and like, it's going to be straight up down to the human being. It's not going to be this mass marketing concept of, hopefully enough people see this. It's going to be straight down to what's Mike interested in, what's he doing, what does he want. And it's going to be, to your point, micro-targeted advertising direct to what you're trying to do or buy or see. And that's mind-blowing.
Our TV is connected to apps. We don't have, cable or satellite. Like it's Hulu, it's Netflix, it's Amazon, it's, the ABC app or, Disney Plus or whatever it is that you're subscribing to, those are tied to individuals. Those are tied to households. And you better believe those companies are understanding as much as they can about the household, how many children, what are their spending habits, so that they can power their marketers to go on. It's called OTT, where it's over the top. It's no longer casting this huge net like you were talking about. It very much is. I'm going to be watching the same show as you, possibly at the same time. You're going to get served one ad. I'm going to get served a different ad, and they're both going to be most relevant to us. It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening. And so it's one of those fun things. And this is exactly why I wanted to have this conversation, because if you're a lot of my audience is, local mortgage pros. And if you're thinking that somehow you can continue to do what you've always done and stay relevant, you're not paying attention to what's happening around us. And I know that in 2020, not only with the pandemic that was distracting and terrible to deal with, but we had record rates. So I have loan officers and friends who have done a lot of business, more than they've ever done, possibly.
Yep.
And they are also not evolving their skill set. They're not focused on the future. They're not learning new things. They're not being like, okay, what is Jornaya doing? And that's fascinating. And how is that going to affect me? And I feel like we're heading towards this kind of like cliff moment where it's like, oh, I don't know how to manage or deal with these new skills, these new threats, if you will, to my traditional way of doing business. And now this huge percentage of my business is being stripped away from me in an eye blink. It's going to feel real fast.
Yeah, I've had some great conversations with some folks that are, look, we've had rates tick up, right? And I hate having the rate conversation, but it's real.
Yeah.
We've had the wind in our sails, everyone, rising tide lifts all boats, whatever you want to say, that says we've all gotten incredibly fortunate this year with having rates so low. We can go back into our databases, place phone calls. Everyone's in the money. It's ridiculous, right? As rates tick up and continue to tick up, I know the Mortgage Bankers Association and others are saying that, the later half of this year is going to be a very heavy purchase market because the refinance wave is not really going to be there to support us anymore. You have an industry that has just hired an extensive amount of employees to keep up with the demand. As rates tick up and refinances subside,
Yep.
They're going to be doing everything they possibly can to avoid laying off staff. They're going to do everything they possibly can to convert more and more, which means leveraging more and more data to better prioritize the right person at the right time in terms of their engagements. It's going to become a dogfight.
Yes.
It's really going to be a dogfight. So, it'll be interesting to watch. I know the old analogy that I've heard all the time of, a mortgage lender is never properly staffed. They're either understaffed or overstaffed, which makes this really, an interesting industry to be in for so many years.
There's only like 1 week a year when you're perfect. Other than that, it's always bouncing around.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how are you going to know anyone in your database that is still in market when rates tick up to 3.5 to 4 to 4.5, wherever they go? And making sure you reach out to them. So that's where data comes in, and that's where data helps.
So how did you get in this field?
So I started in mortgage 17 years ago, working for your boss. So I was in an Anthony Shea company, Home Loan Center, which got acquired by LendingTree, became LendingTree Loans. And I was an originator. I moved over to marketing. I was running marketing for consumer direct lender, had about 115 loan officers or so, and doing that for a number of years. That I just got fascinated and addicted to understanding data and trying to deliver the highest quality leads to the loan officers that I could. I was one that I was sitting at desks with loan officers, seeing how my science experiments were working out as I was manipulating the lead management system, and I started using Jornaya to provide additional data on these leads to help me make better decisions. And I just started geeking out like crazy on that stuff. And it opened my eyes to what's out there.
Yeah. And
then one thing led to the next, and I ended up going to work for Jornaya. And now I'm fortunate to work with some really large banks and non-bank lenders that just there's some incredibly sharp people out there doing some amazing things that they've taught me so much. It's been an absolute blast just looking at and being a part of this growth. It's been it's been such a phenomenal year for us. I mean, just in December, we got acquired by Verisk. There's the new company Swag. And Verisk is a $30 billion market cap company with 10,000 employees worldwide, focused on data and risk analytics. So it's been fun, and I love it, and can't imagine not being in it.
So, Mike, let me ask you this as kind of a pivot here. What would you tell a local professional loan officer if they're curious about this world, this conversation? How do they get more educated? What should they be aware of? What would you kind of just share with somebody who maybe even they're your friend and they're like, hey, this is happening. What do I do about this? What would you share with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good resources out there. I mean, even just searching identity graphs, identity resolution. If you don't know, I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends who, they have a website and they think it's just a way, if you don't have a website, then you don't exist, sort of thing, which, yeah, true. But what happens when someone visits? Do you know who they are? And how can you chase them around to make sure you stay in front of them at the right time? Yep. So that's where you start getting into identity resolution. The identity graph side is appending additional information about that individual. Look, we have a summit that we have every May. It's going to be virtual, of course, this May. I'd encourage people to check that out and attend. That's a really good spot. We on jornaya.com just launched our behavior insights, and you can look and just see the trends going on of the amount of shoppers that we're witnessing right now, and start to get acclimated with some of the terminology that's used, and start researching that. I mean, I geek out on this so much. I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to find me on LinkedIn and connect and go from there. But there's some good resources to look at.
But you made such a great point in such a subtle moment, which is, hey, you work so hard to try to market to a consumer. Let's just say you're doing all the right stuff. You're out putting out podcasts and videos, and you're talking to people, and you're on social media, and you're driving traffic to your website. And then what? Do you even know who visited, how often, where they clicked, where they stayed? What did they read? Where did they go next? What are they doing? And Mike, it's such a subtle point, but it's such a powerful opportunity.
Yep. There's, whether you use Salesforce, whether you use something more, basic than that, that has your customer list, your database, you know a lot of information about that consumer if you took their application before.
Yes.
A lot.
Tons.
Right? But that doesn't mean you stop there. You should be it should be a fluid database. It should be one that you're constantly appending new information that you learn. Maybe it's on social media as you're engaging. If someone that you used to work with is commenting regularly,
yes, yeah,
that should be something that, even if it's a manual ad, they're active on social, and you should put that in there. If someone is best responsive via text message, that's a preference. Yes. And that's the way you should engage with them regularly. It's taking those steps to make that database not static, a more fluid database, so you have a more complete view of who the consumer is, and just start working towards that and thinking towards that.
Man, it's the power of data is going to be this massive shift, and the people that understand it and start educating themselves on it, and they're going to realize how to leverage it. How to find partnerships and other companies if they have a weak spot there, to figure out how to serve the customer the way they want to be served. We've said that 1,000 times, and those who Jornaya, if you have the most data, you have the most opportunity to serve the customer the way they want to be served.
Yeah, and a cool thing about our data set, it's proprietary. Nobody else has what we have. That doesn't mean you have to work with us and we're the only ones that you can work with.
For sure.
We have conversations all the time with people who are saying, oh, we're already doing that. It's like, well, who are you working with? And they mention, oh, we're getting additional data from this company. Yeah, fantastic. We'll enhance that data set more. And so it provides a clearer image of who the consumer is. We're not competing. We're in addition to. And I posted some, co-hosted some webinars with some other data folks. And I have people reach out saying, oh my gosh, I thought you guys were competitors. Why are you guys doing this together?
Yep.
It's more information about the consumer. The more, the better.
Dude. Any final words of wisdom for people that are just kind of tuning in here at the end on what to be prepared for, what to look out for, what's exciting? What do you got for us?
Probably I came across this quote. It was like a week ago. It just popped up, and I don't know, maybe my wife sent it to me or something, but it's and I'm going to read this. What's that?
I said, or maybe somebody's tracking you online and knew exactly what to send you, when to send it.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it just hit home. It's so relevant. It says, in a time of drastic change, it is the learners who inherit the future. The learned usually find themselves equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. Just over the last handful of years, this world has changed with the amount of data that's now accessible to marketers. It's been a drastic change. So if someone's doing the same thing they were doing 2, 3, 4 years ago, they're living in a world that no longer exists, and it's going to get tougher and tougher.
Dude, I love it.
To end on a high note, it's possible for everyone. If you have information about your consumer, there's something you can do to create a personalized experience today. Amen. So figure out what that something new is. And, big change happens by making little changes for a long period of time. So just get started.
Preach it, dude. I love it. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us today. My friends, this wraps up our 4th segment of digital marketing. I hope that your eyes are opening. I hope that you're taking the red pill or whichever one that takes you out of the matrix. And I hope you're realizing that we all can have to continue to change, because not only is our customers changing, but the way data is influencing our decision-making is changing, and the way marketing is changing. So, Mike, thanks for your time today, brother.
You got it. No problem. Thanks for having me on, Alec.
All right, everybody. I'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Modern Lending Podcast. Take care.